You're listening to the Board Game Snobs podcast, a ridiculous podcast with ridiculous hosts that discuss ridiculous things. And any mention of board games is purely coincidental. And so, without further ado, and with a heavy dollop of shame and embarrassment on my part, I give you the Board Game Snobs.
And go.
And welcome to the Board Game Snobs podcast. This is a very special episode today. This is Jerry.
Thank you. I am here, Gabi.
Gabi's here. And like I said, it's always a special episode when we get to have somebody on. Here at BGG Spring Con, I got to meet my good friend Tom. We went out to eat. And so Tom wanted to be on the show, so we thought we'd have him. Tom, how you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you. That was a good meal we had. All three of us.
I call him Mr. Vasel. May I call you Tom?
Only people who have broken bread with me.
Yes.
No, it's fine.
Mr. Vasel it is.
Yeah, Tom and I and Roy, we ate meat together. We are practically, and now we're friends on Facebook. We're practically brothers. Yeah, so yes, we've bonded over meats. What is your favorite cut of meat, Tom?
Well, it depends what it is, but if it's off the barbecue grill like that, it really is a pork chop. I don't know why. I mean, I don't ask for them at home all the time or anything, but a pork chop off a grill is just phenomenal.
That is hard to beat.
Interesting choice, I say.
Well, pork chops are superior if you're outside and doing something because they got a bone in them. So you kind of like just hold them and eat off of them.
So your pork chop, so pork over beef, I assume.
No, not particularly. I like pork and beef almost identical. Actually, if I had my druthers, I usually get chicken. But if I had my real druthers, you can dump all this stuff and jump into the sea. Shrimp is where it's at.
Ah, shrimp is bugs.
Double druthers.
That's what they say down here.
Yeah.
Shrimp is good, though.
I do enjoy shrimp.
You know, you say that because you're not near it.
I know.
But where we are, it's everywhere.
We get them out of the mud and call them crawdads.
Yeah, well, yeah. That crawdads, the Louisianans, they really like that.
Or crawfish. Crawfish, the shrimp of the land.
Oh, they're the shrimp. They're the fish of the ditch is what they are. People dig them up.
They're really spiders.
When I was in college, my church had a crawdad cookout. And because I was a poor college student, they let me keep the extras. So I filled a cooler with ice, stuck it in my room, and filled it with these cooked crawdads, which coincidentally, you shouldn't do for more than, say, 4 or 5 days.
No. Not unless you
Life lessons.
Violently ill.
It had nothing to do with that part. It was the fragrant odor of the room.
Yes.
Speaking,
and the old deveining process is something I'm not fond of.
Do you devein?
I don't want to eat the fecal matter of what I'm eating.
Is that what that is, though?
Yes.
I thought that was just the spine.
No, that's what it is. But you know what? I don't think it makes that big of a difference. You're also eating the flesh of whatever you're eating. At some point, you just got to give in.
Yeah, I don't devein them.
There's a quick way to devein shrimp, though. You butterfly them real quick. I learned that. Did I mention we eat a lot of shrimp down here?
Yeah,
it's great.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm coming to visit in August to the Dice Tower Retreat.
Yes, but that's in the landlocked section of Florida, in Orlando.
Oh.
There's no.
But there is a restaurant there where you can get all you can eat lobster.
Yes. Oh.
Is it $1,000 buffet?
No, it's like 65. I want to say it is. And the lobster tails are small, and the guy gives you a look when you go back. Me and Joey went, and we've gotten 9, and we both. It's like if I was listening to top 10 regrets of my life, it's that I couldn't just get the 10th because 9 doesn't sound like I tried.
No.
You know, so we have made a blood oath pact that the next time we go there, we will eat 10, regardless of the snide look of the lobster server guy.
You can eat a lot of lobster. It's very light. It's like it's like Chinese food. You get.
Well, what's great is if you go there, the lady the waitress will show you how you can quickly open a lobster. Like I have it down. It's snap, twist, turn, pull, open. And I can get a lobster tail out in like 10 seconds.
You don't just like do a two-handed shrimp squeeze like you do shrimp. You know how you like squeeze the end of the shrimp on the tail, like hopping out. Instead,
this is a Midwestern talk I'm hearing.
Yeah, yeah, we don't know that. We don't know that.
Shrimp squeeze. You don't know that one.
We don't know that.
The underside of lobsters terrify me. All those little legs, they are creepy.
Centipedes.
It's something off of Aliens, Romulus. I'm not eating.
I'm not arguing that, but this is just a tail, so who cares?
We're not big into shrimp. Do y'all have crock pots there? Oh, you look like you'd be a big fan of crock pots.
The crock pot. Crock pots exist anywhere at churches.
All right, I was just making sure because we're pro crock pot here. Like that's a thing that you can just sit and
Is
forget.
it like a big bowl you put those shoes in
Yeah, you just put whatever in it. Just leave it.
for hours and
For
make a
you
stew?
can forget about it and it's back.
So, Tom, you said something about top 10 regrets. And, on this show in the past, we may have lightly poked fun at the many top 10 lists that the Dice Tower accumulate and have done through the years. Top 10 regrets. Have you done that one yet?
No, I mean, you mean top 10 regrets in game purchases? That is actually going to be live at Dice Tower East. That's coming. We're calling it top 10 disappointments.
Top 10 disappointments.
And I was going to lead off with like number 10, Mike DeLisio.
Okay, so that's what I literally have on my notes. Of all the regrets, is having Dan Hughes and Mike DeLisio on the Dice Tower Network number 1?
No. Now ask me if it's in the top 10.
Is it in the top 10?
No comment.
Okay.
That's what people say when they mean yes, but don't want to.
Yeah.
So far, they talked about board games more than y'all do.
Well, let me know if you can hear this. This is, okay, so for one, this is,
I'm Dan Hughes.
okay, so it says, my friend, this is what he said about us many moons ago, and he lives to regret it to this day.
There's no one does what Board Game Snobs do better. They are almost professional level comedians.
He regrets those words because I play them on loop every chance I get.
You should.
You're not finding that to be the case so far, though?
I can't tell if you weren't cutting that out of something else that was said.
No. He said it legitimately to Richard Simpson on We're Not Wizards. Yeah, that's legit. Sad to say, that's legit. Now, that was a long time ago. He may have changed his mind by now, but, we're still good friends. Okay, before we move on, this is the, the opening of the show where we get all the menial nonsense out of the way before Jerry dives into his nitty-gritty questions. This is a fact. This is a weird factoid. I sometimes bring up weird did you knows. When trains were introduced in the U.S., many people believed that women's bodies were not designed to go at 50 miles an hour, and that their uteruses would fly out of their bodies if they were accelerated to that speed.
So why isn't this a board game? What's is that the new Ticket to Ride?
And so on some of the comments that followed under that fact or said, yeet the ute. Have you referred to a uterus as a ute?
Not as a healthcare professional, no, but I will now.
When a hysterectomy?
Yeah.
Ma'am, we got to yeet that ute.
Gotta eat that ute.
Get it out of there.
All of our OBGYN listeners are writing that down right now.
People were saying they should have asked for a womb with a view. Others may have
Is
said,
this the whole reason you give the fact so that you can do the puns?
Yes,
I
yes,
think
by
so.
all means.
I think so.
Because I was interested in the fact, but you're deflating it by the second.
Oh, now don't overreact.
Overread. Okay. You just
Okay, I'm done. That is an interesting fact, though, how ignorant we used to be about women's bodies. Specifically men, I'm assuming.
yeah, and utes.
And uteruses.
I thought those were those tents that they had in Mongolia. Those are yurts.
Yurts.
Those are yurts. Okay.
They may have yeeted some utes out of yurts back in those days.
Well, pretty soon, if you keep adding words to this, you'll get your own little tongue twister that people will then dance to on TikTok.
Yeet the ute out of the yurt. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. That was grade A.
He's now asking me to go back to calling him Mr. Vasel.
Okay. Thank you.
I want to be clear, I never stopped. But all right.
All right. Go ahead, Jerry.
Well, I didn't have time to prepare anything. Enrique though did
Okay.
write some things.
Does Tom have any questions for us, Mr. Vasel?
I think I asked them all at that meal.
Like,
Yeah.
who are you?
And why are you eating a salad? Was one of those. What does alligator taste like? That was question number 1 from Enrique. Have you ever ate alligator?
Yeah, actually, so we live near the Everglades here. In fact, I'm going to the Everglades tomorrow. There is an alligator restaurant. It's more like a truck stop, a truck type place. It's a little tough. It's close to pork, I guess. I mostly eat alligator jerky, so I'm not really up to date on like cooked alligator. I don't get it very often because Why should I pay? I mean, it wasn't that great. It's not the weirdest meat I've eaten. But it's pretty common here, at least as like a who it's on the menu type thing.
He also asked, what is best beverage?
What is best beverage?
Asking what your favorite drink is.
Best beverage is water. There's no question on that. Do you mean that my favorite thing to drink?
Yes, I think that's what he meant.
Yeah, there's no question. It is straight up Southern sweet tea.
Okay.
But it bothers me that I have to like say that. I should just say iced tea and everyone will know what I'm talking about. But unfortunately, a good chunk of the world moronically drinks it with no sugar. And I think it's some sort of, way to torture yourself. You're like, oh, I'm doing my good deed for today, drinking unsweet tea.
It's nasty. Unsweet tea is.
When you say Southern, what do you consider Southern?
Southern's where you brew it in the pitcher and then leave it out in that sun, and then you throw some ice in and serve it that way.
Okay.
But I'm not opposed to a good tea cooler, and I do like an Arnold Palmer. But sweet tea, I wish I could get that more often, and I'm tired of having to explain to the waitress that sweet tea is not bring me an unsweet tea and some sugar packets, which has happened many times.
That's unfortunate. I would figure Florida would be down with the sweet tea.
I don't know.
Well, that we are in some places. It depends. Like I said, if you go to a good barbecue restaurant, we got some in town, then yes, you got it. You go somewhere else. And the Yankees, I live in Southern Florida, so it's a weird culture of there's a lot of Cubans here. Then there's a lot of, old Yankees who have decided to retire here.
He also asks, where do you get hats and best hat?
Best hat.
Best
The
hat.
best hat is a fedora.
Okay.
I get them all over the place. There's a store I go to in Vegas that sells hats. There's Amazon, and there's several hat stores.
You have a very distinct style also at the con.
Yeah.
With the suspenders and the hat.
Well, that's true, but I don't understand why people wear belts. They choke your waist. Suspenders are much more comfortable.
So suspenders are superior, but you kind of have to have a overall. Either they match.
Sure.
Or they don't. Yeah.
I like to wear colorful things a lot. I mean, it has morphed into a look that I wear on the podcast, but I do it outside the podcast too. If I'm walking around town, that's usually how I dress. Also.
Yeah, I noticed that. You even at the con with your chin strap and your suspenders and your hat and your tie, you look like a wayward Mennonite in this area. So it's a great look. Enrique also said,
yeah, but see, no Mennonite ever wears this colorful clothing, so it confuses people.
It does.
Well, I noticed because I unbeknownst to you, perhaps at one time maybe you did, but I follow your Facebook, your personal Facebook, and you updated your profile pic. He's smooching his wife. At least I hope it's his wife in the profile.
Yeah, that'd be a pretty abrupt way to show something else. No.
But the next time it updates, it's just pictures of his kids. That's typically how that does go.
But he's
that was from our 25th anniversary. We just celebrated.
Yeah, you and I are very similar in age and anniversary. I was born in 1977, and my wife and I just had our 25th anniversary last November.
But you have not as many. Kids.
We have not procreated and have any genetic spawn.
You are not as potent as Tom. Tom has like 6, 7, 8. How many? You have a bunch of kids, and so
top 10 kids.
There you go. There's a list everybody's clamoring for. Tom, if you ever decide to retire from the Dice Tower, do you see yourself handing down the mantle of Vasel to somebody else, to one of your children, perhaps?
Well, no, not to the kids. I doubt that. That's just, it's funny that I always talk about how we can be reverse nerds, like the nerds from the 80s were, Dad's like, let's go throw football. Dad, I don't want to play football. I want to play video games. And now we sometimes do the same thing. We're like, oh, my kids will play board games. Like, maybe they won't. And you know what? That's okay. They're going to run away and join the football team. But so none of my kids all like games for the most part. My kids enjoy gaming. Some of them a lot less than others. I got a couple who will play party games and that's it. But none of them to the degree that I would think they would want to take over. And that's fine. The whole idea of Junior taking over Dad's business is an antiquated idea, I think.
So when you would retire or whatever in the future happens, I was curious about that myself. Do you have like something in mind, something in place for the dice tower to go on, or will it just that be the end?
My goal is to die live on camera.
That would get
Instead of
major
retiring.
clicks.
It would get so many views. And also so many likes. That would be one of those ones where you're like, am I supposed to like this video or not? You're not sure, right?
Oh, thumbs up.
No, I mean, that's so far in the future. Although I was at some retirement planner was trying to talk to me and my wife, and she was like, you're 20 years from retirement. I was like, I am? Oh, huh. That's 20 years from now, whatever. I'll think about it later. But she said, you need to think about it now.
It's right around the
She
corner.
was very hard-nosed.
Yes, very wise, very wise. Enrique also had what size shirt? I don't know what he means by that. But as you,
I really enjoy his questions. They've been very good.
Yeah. His handwriting's awful.
What size shirt?
Yeah, I think we had
What is it? 16 or 17 and a half, 34 lengths. I don't remember what the size is. I have it saved on
your
Amazon.
t-shirt,
I don't
I
need to
think.
know.
I don't
If
know.
you're talking about t-shirt, bigger than you think you need.
Okay.
I'm gonna say Tom looks like he's a XLT.
No, I wish I was. I'm a double XLT. But yes,
XLT. That's not bad.
you're close. I'll tell you what, someone needs to go and just change sizes.
Yeah.
The size chart has been destroyed by McDonald's. And instead of having small, medium, large, let's stop this. That should be petite, and then small, and then mid-size, and then decently sized. Then we get to large. XL should be the top level. Or no, that would be the second top level. Tent would be the top level. All right. But I mean, it gets ridiculous. Like if double XL is the number one thing that's being sold at the, at the t-shirt store, then maybe maybe our size chart's wrong. Again, I know every time I say this, the moral do-gooders of thin people will come out and say, well, blah, 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 blah. But you get your own podcast, and then you can give your own size chart.
That's right. And
Jerry does have a podcast, unfortunately.
Well, no, I don't say that. I support our rotund
Whatever.
listeners.
You shame me on a frequent
I don't
basis.
shame
This was my number one fear, being fat shamed when I came on the show, and it already started by being asked by Jerry what size shirt I wear.
That was his question.
Oh,
It
and
wasn't.
using Enrique as
I
his
did not.
stool pigeon.
No.
More specifically, his question was, what size shirt?
Yes, I don't know what Enrique has a habit of cutting sleeves off shirts too, so that's probably why.
Although I don't know what it says about the gaming community. I'm a large man myself, a morbidly obese large man. So the doctors would have you believe. So when I go
Trust
into
the science.
when I go into, Board Game Geek and I'm shopping in the con and all of my sizes are gone. It's the small mediums that are left over. I think it just kind of goes with the community for some reason.
Well, it is a sedate community.
It is a sedate.
When I lived in Korea, I was large there, and it's not rude in Korea, not at all, to talk about the size of someone's stomach. So like an old man walk by and pat my belly and go, baby. And, that would happen often. And I'm like, I am kind of fat. I get it.
Wow.
I'm fat. And then when I would fly back to visit America and I'd walk in the airport and I'd go, oh, I'm not that fat. And then I would go to a gaming convention and I'd go, I'm downright thin.
Well,
it's all about perspective.
well,
Perspective.
That's true, and I do think that it is a thing in the board gaming community, and that's why I think it's nice to kind of have, try to stay at least to some degree in shape, or exercise, promote that amongst the board gaming community, because I think that we're going to have a bunch of gamers die off from heart disease earlier on. It is an actual concern.
Yeah, that's true.
I have that concern that this industry as a whole, the main people that are engaged in it, we don't take very well care of ourselves.
I've been consuming cayenne pepper on a regular basis.
I have no idea what that does.
Oh, apparently it'll just heal everything.
No.
And a little olive oil.
And TikTok medical advice is going to be the end of us as well. Rubbing magnesium oil on your
No,
feet.
he was a chiropractor.
Heavy metal.
Eat a Tide Pod.
Eat a Tide Pod, yes. Heavy metal detox. Or just be like Enrique, just stick the chicken nuggets and Dr. Pepper.
Mr. Vasel, or may I call you Tom yet?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Who?
One of my questions was, is there a question you wish you never had to answer again? And in fact, this is making you ask that very question.
Well, no, because technically you're just stating the question.
Stating the question. You don't have to answer.
I get tired of being asked all the time. People are like, so what theme is missing in games? Okay. What would you like to see in a game? Hang on, I'm going to write down notes because that's my next great game design.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the what theme thing gets really tiresome, or what movie or TV show or video game. Okay. I'm not normally even looking for that sort of thing. I just like good games.
Let me erase some of my questions here. Okay, we're good to go.
You were going to say that regardless of anything I said.
No, I will now never ask you those questions.
Yes.
Do you often get people hitting you up in hope of playing games for a living for the Dice Tower?
Nobody plays games.
Sort of. It's interesting. I get a lot of emails from people asking for jobs a lot. And I mean, it's never worked. Because usually if I'm hiring somebody, which is rare because we're still a small board game industry, I put out resumes, I put out the call. I'm looking for this specific thing. But it's interesting. I get some emails sometimes where someone's like, I just discovered board games. This is great. I've decided to make this my career. What should I do next? Like, that's not how that works, really. You need to kind of have a focus on what you want. I barely talk about what I do outside of board gamedom. Like, I don't, at my church or in the neighborhood, I'm not like, hey, I do board games, although driving a Dice Tower van around doesn't, I've had to answer all the questions. But every time people are like, oh, you just play games all the time. Like, no, there's so much more beyond that.
It sounds like also a lot of people, when they get into board gaming, there's like this arc of, you're excited, you're buying everything, all the hotness, and you go down the rabbit hole, and then eventually you get to the stage of, now I'm going to design my own board game or get into some sort of board game media. Like that typically is like the
start a podcast
or something of that nature.
It does seem that way. You feel like you need to do something almost to justify your spending and your time behavior. I do not believe everyone has a game designer inside of them. If you do, we need to do some surgery for most of you. I don't think most people should get into gaming media. I mean, maybe you can, if you want to tell people about games, but just don't expect it to be a thing. And I think that's a problem that we have these days. I mean, it's a problem, not just in gaming, but kids look at TikTok and all these things and are like, that is what I want to do. That's my goal. And they look at the fun part, and I mean, there is a lot of fun parts to it. They just don't realize all the work that comes with it.
Yeah, and I think it's also, like you said, it's difficult. I can imagine being a board game designer, because how difficult that is, being creative and having to be, if that's your full-time job, having to be creative all the time in this avenue. And I often feel like, as somebody who plays a lot of games and various ones, whenever I'm critical of a board game, there's a part of me that always kind of, this tinge of I'm critiquing something that I myself could not do.
Guilt. That's what that's called.
Well, no, I don't feel guilty by any means.
Yeah, but you know what? You just need to get over that.
Well, I think it's like the armchair quarterback thing. Yeah. It's that. It's the, and I think that also delves into that motivation of, well, now I want to design something because now that will justify, you develop taste before you develop skill. So it's like, this is going to justify not only my taste in board games, but it's going to prove that I have the skill to contribute to board gaming. I think that's a lot of motivation.
But I mean, to get back to I don't feel so bad about that, because I always think about who is our ultimate responsibility to. If you're reviewing games or talking about games, your ultimate responsibility is to the consumer.
Right. And
it's not like the whole, if you can't do it, don't criticize. It's just not a good philosophy. If I eat a piece of fruit I got from the grocery store and it's gross and disgusting, I'm like, well, I can't grow fruit. So, you got to try it out and see for yourself. I'd be like, no, guys, this is terrible. Don't touch it. I'm helping you out. And you'd be really annoyed at me if I didn't.
Yeah.
If I ate it and I was like, try this, and you ate it and you're like, well, it's gross. I'm like, well, everyone has different opinions.
And you have the rare situation where you've also designed a game that was actually pretty good. I played that.
Well, it's not that good of a game. And yeah, I did it and it was fun, but I've come to the conclusion that my goal in life is not to design games. I like playing other people's games.
I think that was a question that I had that in connection with designing a game. I always assume that you do you enjoy playing the game that you designed, or is it more, do you find more enjoyment out of playing other people's games? I mean, it feels like the design process would kill most of the enjoyment.
Oh, it's not too bad because I just didn't play it that much. I co-designed it, so I let him do a lot of the play testing. I designed a game, and technically I designed 2 games, but no one talks about the other one. But I designed a game that I would want to play. I don't play that often, but then again, I don't play any game that often. So, it's a weird thing. Like, do I rate it my top 100 games? No, but I don't know that I ever would because that just feels weird. Yeah.
And I just, for some reason, there's something about the design process, and it would be the same as getting into an industry that everybody talks about of if your hobby's your job, then you never work a day in your life. But it seems like that would kill the enjoyment out of it for me.
Yeah, I really disagree with that statement. That that whole if your hobby's a job, then you don't work anymore. Then you're doing a bad job.
Yeah,
because your job should be work. I think it's important. You should attempt. I mean, I think for a job, my first priority is, am I supporting my family? I'll work the most terrible, worst job in the world if that's my number one criteria. But after that, I want to work at a job I enjoy. But I don't expect there to be any job in the world that you enjoy every time. Like, working at Dice Tower is great. I come in on Mondays and I'm happy. Some people get, oh, it's Monday. I'm like, ooh, it's Monday. It's the start of a new week. But I'll tell you, like this week on Monday, I went home to my wife and I said, that felt like an actual Monday. And it wasn't that, just I had to do a lot of planning and emails and meetings and this and that. And there's just so much. If you're going to do a good job, you have to work. It's kind of like being a teacher. When I was a teacher, I loved teaching. Unfortunately, that's not the only thing that's part of that profession. There is planning and prepping and grading and writing tests. And then the 2 worst things, which are in this order, number 2, dealing with parents, and number 1, going to teacher meetings.
So what's the thing that you hate dealing with the most in connection with the Dice Tower?
Mike DeLisio.
Well, besides him.
But
that's a given.
I was told I have to do that like 5 times over the course of this podcast. Dan Hughes is paying me $10 pop.
Sounds about 10's quid.
We don't even know what that is.
Over the course of a year, it's finances / taxes. Easy. Right? I also don't, and that kind of spreads out. I don't particularly like running our Kickstarter. I don't like the advertising things that we do and, all that stuff. I like the actual numbers. I love math, but it's just a stressful thing. I dislike that the most. Yeah, I don't think there's even a and meetings. I hate meetings.
You hate meetings?
But I hate meetings with a passion, and I have done my best in my life to wherever I go, eliminate meetings. So like at my church, I was elected a deacon in the deacons board. And when I went there, they had 3-hour meetings every month. At some point they elected me chairman. We now have a 20-minute meeting every 3 months.
There you go. Condense it.
I want that on my gravestone.
Yeah.
I'm proud of that.
Yeah.
Because every meeting, teacher meetings are the worst. You go to the meeting, and everyone, they give you a sheet of paper. They then proceed to read that paper out loud and go over in excruciating detail all the stuff. And then you think, I think we're done. And then one guy raises his hand and says, listen, I have a question that pertains to me and only me and no one else here. But I would like to talk about it here and in this place and drag things out for a really long time. And his other teacher is his backup. He's like, I'm not going to listen to anything that was being said in this long conversation that only applies to you. So I'm going to ask some questions and make you all repeat it again. I got so sick of it that when I was working in a school, I would have my wife call me 30 minutes into every meeting and and I was like, I don't care what it is. You need me 30 minutes into a meeting. It works great. Now my wife is embarrassed because I'll just stand up and walk out.
So if Tom gets a phone call during this podcast, we know what happened.
Yeah, that would be a hood. Get a podcast.
Ring. Oh, sorry guys, I got a phone call. Gotta go.
So what's the thing that you like most about the Dice Tower? That if that's the one thing you could just isolate and just do.
And you can't say Dan Hughes because Dan paid you.
Probably going to conventions. I mean, it's just so fun. I mean, I want to be clear. There's a difference between running a con and going to one. I just went to BGG Spring, and that was a great time because I had nothing to do there. But there's a couple reasons. As a content creator, nothing is more uplifting than having anybody tell you they like what you do.
Oh, yeah.
I remember the very first time I went to Origins, and I was talking to somebody, and someone said, I recognize the voice. Do you do a podcast? And I was like, I am famous.
Yeah.
Because one person heard my voice and knew who I was.
Yeah.
And I really liked that. It's uplifting because the internet is just so negative. It really is. I mean, and people don't think so. I mean, they think they're being positive, and people are just jerky and mean and rude and nasty. And just, I want to slap people who say, I am my own worst critic. You've never read the internet. You are not your own worst critic. But when you go to a con, 999 times out of 1,000, no one's going to say boo to you there. At worst, they will just not talk to you, but people are very polite and nice. And I always take some sort of amusement because there are some people, a few, who really, really dislike the Dice Tower. And, they say that very publicly. They have names. And I'll meet these people at a con, and they'll shake my hand and be very nice. And I'm thinking, I know your name. I know what you said about me online, but cool. But you know what, though?
I've seen some of those people.
I deleted those comments.
I don't hold that against those people either, because that's the way it is. It's just like, I hope I can talk to a designer whose game I ran over with my car.
Yeah.
That might be an extreme case. But I mean, if I have talked to publishers, I've said their game was terrible. We can still hopefully talk.
Yeah, I would think that would be kind of a sticky situation, is trying to be an asset for your listeners, but at the same time, you're going to have to say some harsh things about certain games, and sometimes it tends to be.
That's why most people temper it with, well, I didn't like it, but maybe you will. That type of thing.
Sometimes.
You find that to be the case?
And sometimes, I mean, that's a very valid thing to say, but there are times I play a game, I'm like, no, nobody should be playing this.
A quick question in regards to certain controversies. I find you do very well. I mean, others would say you don't do very well. But, controversial things happen, topics get brought up. And I like the way that Dice Tower oftentimes to me, just ignore it. Is that what you tend to do? Or do you feel that you need to address certain things? Because I seen something on Twitter a few weeks ago. Blah, 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 blah.
What are you doing on Twitter?
Dice Tower. I browse it. I like to spy on things.
Oh.
And I keep tabs on things, and things get.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
So it's like,
so in that. Okay, so let's take that situation specifically in that, and there was some very legitimate reasons about why things went down the way they did. But one of the people involved was a publisher, and so I emailed that publisher and I said, "Listen, this is what happened. Blah 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 blah. Just so you know, I don't normally say these things, but I'm just telling you." And they lambasted me and said, you need to do this, this, and this. And I was like, okay, you know what? That's why I'm not ever saying these things again. Right. You know what? Look, there's controversies all over the place. If controversy is caused by me and I've done something, I will apologize. And if I need to apologize publicly, I will do it. I have done it in the things. But for the most part, we try to steer clear of it, especially if it doesn't affect us. And I know it gets people riled up, like, oh, this publisher didn't deliver their Kickstarter. I get emails all the time. Tom, you need to do an hour expose of this company and what they've, please tell them that this company didn't deliver the Kickstarter, and I don't care about that. I'm actually going to be doing a video on this soon about news specifically. And people say, well, news in the industry, you need to find out what's going on. You need to see what the controversies are. I don't care about any of that. And I don't think most people do either. People watch Dice Tower News, they're like, it's just a bunch of press releases. Yeah. Because that's what we're interested in the thing. And I don't want to cater to an audience who wants to know that so-and-so was mean to their employees and yada, 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 uses fake wood in their dice towers. Mm-hmm. And, whatever the latest controversy is. I mean, sometimes things have to be called out, but I think it's very, very rare. And you know what? other people will do it for me anyway. I don't got to say nothing. There's always people ready to lead that charge. And it's kind of like, I say this, and don't get worried, I'm not going to get political here, but regardless of what happens in the election in America this year, there's still a lot of people who are listening to my show who will vote for different people. I am not attempting to chase them away because I'm talking about games. Mm-hmm. And even if I didn't agree with them and I was tremendously in disagreement, I still wouldn't want to chase them away because I would still want to have that voice to them.
Right.
You know, if I disagree with my kids, my adult children on things, which shockingly I am, right? They're kids. Yeah. What's the matter with kids these days? You know, and we disagree. I'm not going to fight to the bone about it because I want to maintain that relationship with my kids. If my neighbor disagrees with me on everything, I don't want to I don't want to have to put up a wall between us. I really believe we can have reasonable discourse, and making giant statements about stuff all the time only inflames thing. And honestly, a good chunk of it is virtue signaling anyway.
I think so too.
You know, let me give you an example. And this is a long time ago. Do you guys remember the ice bucket challenge?
Yeah.
Right. So the ice bucket challenge was donate money to, what was the for? It was
Cerebral
like
Palsy.
ALS?
ALS. Yeah, Lou Gehrig's.
ALS. Yeah, what you see, this is the first problem, is you don't remember that.
Amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. Go ahead. Sorry.
Right. But they would say, hey, dump a bucket of water in your head or donate. And then you would tag 30 people. Mm-hmm. And there was videos already of people dumping water on themselves. And I was thinking, man, these people are all jerks. They should have been donating money.
Yeah.
Not gonna do it.
But you look good because you got water poured on you. Woo-hoo-hoo. Now, I know some of those people probably did the water and donated money. That's fine. But still, it just, that kind of thing makes me laugh, you know?
Yeah.
And if you ever do want to change that focus of the Dice Tower and have somebody on, I could do a parody news of what's the drama in the Dice Tower or drama in board gaming. You know,
there's plenty of it.
Yes.
So I was thinking, is there anyone?
They've got particle board in their maples.
I mean, you know, people are always looking for that avenue that has not really been, you know, brought to the mainstream yet. Is there a podcast that specifically talks about all these drama, for lack of a better term? Well, here's the thing.
Well, there's some news sites and there's some YouTube channels that kind of push this thing. And I got to be honest, I think lowly of most of them. I really do. It's the same reason I don't like watching actual news.
Yeah.
If they get all up in that. No, actual news needs to tell us what's going on. But I don't always need to know everything. I can't tell you the number of headlines where I'll read it and I'm like, that's what you're talking about? You're talking about some seedy thing that this person did one time when they were 30 years ago, whatever. I don't care about that stuff. Give me actual news, and you know what? Give me some positive news in the mix too, because good things happen.
True.
There you go. Positive things.
I'm all about that positive thinking. I started doing that here recently, where I don't say anything negative. I've been on a quite the quest here recently with after just having surgery. And kind of having a new lease on life where I'm not yelling at people as much. I'm not freaking out.
I appreciate that.
I'm doing
personally.
Good things. Yes, it's been great. And, you know,
I've seen slight improvements.
I thank you. I've not, well, think about the things I've said.
Oh, I don't have to think about it. I experienced them personally.
So here recently, I'm just saying, I'm all about the positivity now.
That's good. I think we need more positive because there is, quite frankly, as Brother Vasel, Mr. Vasel said,
Chairman Vasel,
there's plenty of
dearly beloved,
plenty of negative garbage. And you can go on specifically Twitter. I mean, it's
I don't go on Twitter.
I know, and there's no reason to, because that's all it is.
I stick to Facebook. That's where all the old people are at.
No, I specifically cut Twitter out of my life. And I was amazed at how much happier I was when I did that. Facebook, I know some people say Facebook, but Facebook's really easy. If I see someone say something, I'm like, what kind of statement is that? I look at their last 3 posts, and if 2 of them are like in the same vein, I'm like, gone. I curate it very, very quickly. But yeah, I mean, you got to be positive in general. Now, I know people will say, but if you don't complain or yell about things, you won't change things. And there's some truth to that, right? Squeaky wheels get grease and all that. But there are ways to do so in a measured, reasonable way that people will listen to. I think back when I was a kid and the lady who was nice all the time. And the one time she would say, I'm really disappointed in you, hurt way more than the person who shouted at you all the time.
That's a pro tip for raising kids. I'm disappointed in
Yeah, I know. I'm not that great at doing that.
That cuts you to the bone.
Really.
Oh, well, mine are getting into the teenage years now, so I'm panicked about that. That's the at worst age, I think.
It's fantastic. Listen, this is going to happen. It's happened with all four of I have 7 kids, with the top 4, all of them have done the same thing.
Top 4. No.
I mean the oldest 4. I'll do the top 4 another time. The oldest 4, all 4 of them were like, there was a couple years we were like, do they hate us? We're not sure. Maybe it's not that they hate us. They just don't care about us. But all of them, their senior year of high school, were like, we love you now, Mom and Dad. We're leaving forever, but we just want you to know we love you. Then they're gone.
Mm.
But it was nice to have that nice final goodbye.
Yeah. Well,
like my 4th daughter, I know this because we were sitting outside the other night and she stayed outside with no phone and talked to us. And I was like, what is this? My wife's like, don't ruin it.
Don't point it out. Don't point it out. Be cool. Be cool, Tom.
Well, so Tom, I know we have to, since our podcast is based on not talking about board games, but we are contractually obligated to keep a certain percentage of it somehow related to a board game.
I think we've already done it.
We sort of kind of, I think the board game adjacency. Have you, what's the best, most recent game that you've played?
Let me pull up my list. So far this year, I'm talking about just games that came out in 2024. So I actually don't play as many games. I think I just broke 100 games, which is kind of weird since we're almost halfway through the year. But it's not so much because I'm actually playing games that came out in 2023 still. That's why. Yeah, I'm at, where am I at? I'm at 104. So I played 104 games. I can tell you the worst is Betrayal Deck of Lost Souls. Terrible game. Don't get it. Okay. It's the card game of Betrayal at House on the Hill, and I hate everything about it.
Wow. All right.
The best thing I played actually an expansion for Space Base, because Space Base is an amazing game. But something I played recently, let's see, something recently here. Bog, B-O-G. This is one of the games in the Pack of Games set 3. Pack of Games are games that look like a pack of gum, and he's on his 3rd set of 8 of them. And Bog is a little 2-player game about moving frogs through this 3x3 grid, and it is fantastic. It's a great abstract strategy game.
What's the, now I know you're not much of a solo gamer, correct? You kind of leave that up to.
All right, you want to know the best solo game I played lately? It's called Kinfire Delve. And the new one just came out, Scorn Stockade. But technically, Kinfire Delve is a 1 to 2 player game, and if you buy 2 sets, you can make it 3 to 4. Kinfire, there's a bigger Kinfire game, which is like a boss battler. But Kinfire Delve is a small little card game where you have a character with a little deck of cards, and you have to make it through a deck of monsters and other things. You flip over the cards, you're using your deck to manipulate it. It is absolutely fun. I beat it once, and I think that's the only time I'll ever beat it, but it was good.
Is obviously board games is a very important part of your life. Is that your favorite thing to talk about, or do you have like I mean, some people enjoy talking about movies, books, another hobby? Like, what would be your board game adjacent hobby that you, besides board gaming, or do you have one?
To get me talking on and on, if it's one of the video games that I play. Like my video games are different than most people. I pick one video game and I'll play it for a really, really long time. Just that one game forever and ever. So like right now I'm playing Baldur's Gate 3 and I'm about to switch back to Elden Ring when the expansion comes out soon. But I'll play these games for just months and months. I like to talk about comics. I'm a big comic fan. And I'll talk about food. But I mean, I don't really have a lot of other things I talk about. Well, history and I don't know. I mean, I have all different interests, but nothing that I'm really.
What's your favorite?
In history, did you know that when trains were first invented, they didn't want women to ride them?
I'm gonna check on see if this is like an urban myth or that 3 people did it, and so then it became a thing.
Somebody's uterus was compromised on a train once, and that was all. So, what part of history?
Later.
What part of history do you? Please don't do. Part of history do you enjoy the most?
I don't know. I probably Probably World War II. World War II is such a fascinating period of time. And I think a lot of this was because when I was a kid, we didn't have a TV. And so I read every book in existence. And we would go to the library. My mom would say, you can get 5 books. So great. I'd get 5 books. My brother would get 5 books and so on. So I'd read my 5 books, which were rollicking fantasy and other kinds of stories. Then I would read my brother's 5 books, which were all sports novels. So that's what he got. Then my sister, I'd read her garbage. And I'd be running out of things. And my other brother and sister were too young. They had baby books, but I read them too because, what do you do? And then my dad would have like a bunch of World War II books. And I was like, well, I guess that's what I'm reading.
Yep.
So I would read them.
Yep.
And that's why I like it.
That was my dad. He was in the Army and went to Vietnam, and he was big into World War II. And so every movie and book he had was based on that.
Do you guys know we are further from our births than our births were from World War II?
It's been a long time.
Oh, yeah, it is, isn't it?
Oh, wait. No, I see what you're saying
we're
now.
further from our births than we are. Yeah, isn't that weird?
Because when I was a kid, I thought World War II was like ancient.
Yeah.
But it was 40 years ago from when I was 10. That's it.
Well, birth.
Birth.
40. What time did it end?
45.
45.
45.
50, 60, 70.
So
32.
it was 32 years old when you were there, and that's not that long. I think about this all the time because the current college graduating class, that is about 22, 23, 24, right, in age, they were not alive during 9/11. They are now functional adults, marrying and having children. We are old.
That makes you feel old.
Well, the one that always gets me is I remember when Back to the Future came out and, the 50s seemed so long ago, the 50s. And that was in 1985. I'm like, oh, I was a little kid. The 50s. Oh, that was ancient. The diners. And that's when Mom was alive. Now that would be the 94 for us. 1994 would be Back to the Future if they filmed it today. That is just, that's not right. Pearl Jam would be on the soundtrack. That's how old we are.
That's how old. Speaking of which, I was playing this the other day, this Mixtape game. Now, this is not the Mixtape game that Dan.
I made you
It's
a
not
mixtape.
I made you the Mixtape that Dan and Mike.
Wait, there's another mixtape game?
Yes, it just says Mixtape. I don't think this is.
This is automatically my favorite mixtape themed board game I've ever heard of.
They're going to have a hard time topping this because it does this neat little thing where the theme is you're trying to make a mixtape to woo somebody. So right away, I'm already in this. And it has a neat...
Well, that's the same theme as Mike and Dan.
Somebody should tell them. Just consider this their cease and desist. But the tapes that come with it, they do what one of my favorite games is in the networks, where it has the actresses and the television shows, and they're all puns or play on their names. A lot of the tapes are all that way. That you kind of have to just know the bands or something like that, and they put a lot of work into naming certain ones. Tump and Grind by PLE.
You might say. Unlike other versions of a mixtape game, this one's quite clever.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I haven't seen their version yet.
I'm sure it's...
Can you show me that box again?
Yes, it's this.
Go in close
I'm
with
not
it.
finding this on Board Game Geek.
I think it's coming to Kickstarter. It's by Quick Strike Games and Talon Strike Studios.
I have found it.
Rob Newton.
The designer is the same guy who designed Sonora.
Yes.
That was a good game.
Yeah, it's got the same color palette too. But
I'm going to get this, and then I think after I get this, I will... That's it. I'm good with mixtape games.
It's going to have to really... Somebody's going to have to really... Because like I said, it's got that thing I love about the puns and all that. They're really going to have to up their game, Mike and Dan. Which
Did this creator also have a game called Sonora Quest?
maybe... yeah, and that's going to be difficult for Dan.
That's a terrible pun.
That was
good grief.
You see how lowbrow I am because I'm already laughing about that. But yeah, so yeah, it's going to be hard for Dan because he typically just steals ideas from his children. But yeah, this is a very interesting game where you're recording the A side and the B side, kind of seeing who has the best tracks to woo your significant other. It's got a neat little board, little mixer that you use to keep track of increasing your hand size and everything, and it looks like a VHS tape. So this mixtape, yeah, I think it's kickstarting right now, if I'm not mistaken.
I do not know.
It's not. It's coming to Kickstarter.
It's coming to Kickstarter. So Rob Newton. So yeah, that's one that was. And as soon as I saw that, they sent it to me. I thought this was. I was super excited because I thought Mike had sent me something.
The question's going to be which one's going to be Armageddon and which one's going to be Deep Impact.
That's a great analogy.
Ooh,
that's a great.
Now that I will accept.
Yeah.
But okay, let me ask you this though. We all know that one of those movies did better than the other, but which one's the better movie?
Well, I would argue that Deep Impact is obviously the better movie, just simply because Elijah Wood and
I didn't cry in Deep Impact like I cried when Bruce Willis.
Well, all right. Well, let me.
Really, Deep Impact is way more cryable.
Yes, Deep Impact.
I mean, it was kind of sad when she dies with her dad on the beach at the very end. Yes, and the giant wave engulfs them.
No, I'm not even talking about her. It's like the parents who gave up their kid.
Yeah, and Robert Duvall
and Elijah Wood.
Yeah, maybe I
don't think you remembered it. You didn't pay much attention.
No, I remember it vividly because that was that was in the 90s. I was all about going to movies. 98.
You've been doing that for a while.
And then those astronauts are all saying goodbye to their adult children and wives as they fly. No, Deep Impact is.
When
I think it's twice as good as Armageddon.
When on this in Armageddon, when they land that jet and they get off that shuttle in slow motion, and that music is soaring, and you see the boy with the little shuttle plane going in slow motion.
I'll give you that. That's a great
the
moment.
Prostitute runs up the Steve Buscemi.
Well,
that
to
too.
each their own.
Yeah.
And then it gets ruined by the stupidity the movie threw in.
It's the whole, like that whole show. There was so much stuff that they were being funny and it was being serious. It was trying to do too many things at once.
Just classic Michael Bay.
Yeah, but it was still. It was.
It is.
It depends on what you're saying. What's the better movie? Because if a movie is meant just to be crazy and entertaining, then obviously but in terms of actual realistic
Deep Impact,
portrayal,
obviously.
Deep Impact.
Because they built the...
I showed my kids Deep Impact, I don't know, like 5-6 years ago. And when we're done, they were
fell asleep.
Why did you do that to us?
It's a devastating show. It's
Deep Impact was it was 2012 without the big ocean.
And John Cusack.
Deep Impact is better than 2012, though. I'll give you that. Are you interested in the upcoming film Twisters with an S?
I don't know. I always thought that Twister was kind of a dumb movie because they would be chasing these storms and then they would get caught up and people were like, oh no. And I was like, well, they drove towards it. What were you expecting to happen?
That's Oklahoma. But that's what we do.
It's wonderfully dumb, though, Tom. It's wonderfully dumb.
I know. Also, that's a great soundtrack. That Twister soundtrack is fantastic.
Okay. I'm not going to ask you your favorite movie, but have you seen the recent Godzilla -1?
That's my favorite movie from last year, actually.
Excellent. It is. Oh, man, I just rewatched it yesterday.
I have one. Now it would spoil it if I talked about it. The ending. I think they pull their punch on the ending. I wish they would have let it be a more somber, sad ending.
No, it was already sad enough.
It was sad.
They needed to do that, or my friend said he was going to start smashing stuff in the theater. He would have been so annoyed. No, it was already somber enough. And I thought it was funny because I think 15 minutes in the movie, I leaned over, whispered to Joey, and I said, I think I would watch this if there was no Godzilla in it.
Yeah.
It was that interesting. I said I like history. That post-Japanese World War II was so fascinating, that slice of life. And I really liked the characters. It was such a good movie. But you want to know my favorite movie? Avengers Endgame. And I'll tell you why. Because when we were done watching Avengers Endgame, we went and saw it in the theater with an amazing crowd. And I said to my daughters, if I never see another movie in my life, I'm good.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi and all that. I didn't see those in theaters and stuff, so I don't have that moment. Endgame, I don't think anything can top how we felt in that movie. As a crowd, it was just amazing. It was terrific.
I would agree with that. Something similar, although I do remember, it's one of my earlier memories. The two earliest movies I remember is Return of the Jedi. I remember seeing that. Of course, I was very, very young. And I remember a friend of mine and his mom, we went to go see Temple of Doom in the theater. And when he started doing Kali Ma, she was trying to cover my eyes so they didn't see the chest the heart get ripped out of the chest. I remember that vividly for that reason. But in regards to movies with impact, 1996, there was a little film called Independence Day that came out. And I remember coming out of that movie feeling very ecstatic and ready to go join the Air Force.
No, listen, the president's speech there,
Yep.
where he's like, today, we're all Americans. You're like, yes, let's go.
And then, of course, you get the Quaid guy is the guy that's, I used to fly. I flew crop dusters. Well, sure, you can fly this F-14. Yeah, that was another show that was very Armageddon-like but I think it struck a different tone. Like, I think it was a little more.
Yeah, it did, because there wasn't really any, I mean, when Randy Quaid's character bought it at the end, I wasn't very sad. I was like, well, whatever.
Yeah.
That's how we knew that was going to happen at some point. But it was just so that speech, and after that, it was a pretty thrilling movie.
Okay. In regards to this, unless Jerry has something.
No, continue.
I have a quick game.
Oh.
Somewhat of a trivia game, and it is movie related.
I'm excited.
So this is what I'm ripping this completely off from a radio show I used to listen to in Austin. They called it the IMDB Game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to read you a movie in reverse order of IMDB. So from this actor's movie number 3 to number 1. So by the time I get to his number 1 movie or her number 1 movie, you should know who this actor is based on their list of movies.
Okay, so you're naming their top 3 movies.
I'm
And then when you
gonna
go, but
in
you're going
reverse order.
you're going from third, second, then when you get to the first.
So if you ring in before I get done listing all 3 of their top 3 movies and can list their number 2 or number 1 movie without me mentioning it, that's a bonus point.
Ah, gotcha.
Okay.
Or if I list their number 1 movie and y'all both know it, then I'll give you a point for knowing their 4th
What
listed
noise
movie.
do we make to buzz in?
I don't know. You can.
What do we have to
just
say?
Say your name.
Jason Levine.
Say your name. Let me have a pen,
You
please.
may.
So that I may keep score.
Please.
Tom and Jerry.
Yes,
Mr. Vasel and Jerry.
Mr. Vass.
No, it's got to be Tom and Jerry.
Tom and Jerry. That's what you
By the way, did anyone ever root for Jerry? I don't think so. That whole show was Tom. I felt bad for him the whole time.
have.
He was abused and gaslit, in my opinion.
Well, that's what I do best.
Okay, so I'll start off with some, and some of these generally is like there's that one movie that kind of gives it away, but then the trick of the game will be guessing their other movie.
Okay.
So from least known to best known, I'll start with this character.
Their third.
Their number 3 movie, and again, ring in with your name. Contagion.
Jason Levine.
Jerry.
Tom.
Matt Damon.
Incorrect.
Oh!
You now are -1 points. I forgot to mention that.
Well, can I guess?
You go -1. Yes, you may.
No, wait. Hang on. The person I'm thinking of, this could not be their third movie. Wait, quick rules questions. If people are ever in franchises, are you going to consider the franchise as a single movie?
No, you can say 1, 2, etc. But I also can list the second movie and you still ring in because Jerry cannot ring in.
I would like to do that.
Okay, so number 3 is Contagion. Number 2, The Matrix Reloaded.
Oh my word. The Matrix Reloaded. Hang on. I'm trying to remember which one that is. Is that the new piece of garbage one that just came out?
I cannot answer such questions.
Oh, sorry, I'm helping you.
Okay.
I don't know. Go ahead. Give me number 1.
Number 1. So in the fashion they wish they did this, so as to not give too much, make it too lopsided, I would just progress with the name of the movie, and it's up to you whether you ring in or not. Number 1 is The Matrix. Contagion, Reloaded, The Matrix. Number 4 movie, and this would be the final movie I list, Mystic River.
Jason Levine.
You're already out, but if Tom buzzes out,
I'm going to not guess because I'd rather have 0, but
Okay.
I mean, is it?
because yes,
Is it?
if you do guess, you would get a negative if it's incorrect.
I'm not guessing. My official guess is over. Now I'm just trying to think who was
Okay.
in those 2 movies that wasn't in Lord of the Rings, that wasn't in, these other movies. I don't know.
Okay, Jerry, you can go with your non-counting second guess.
Jude Law.
Nope. The answer is Lawrence Fishburne.
Oh, he was in Oh.
Okay,
Okay, I was thinking about him, but I was thinking there's got to be another movie that he's been in.
those are his
I
top
know that's
4.
not his real name.
Okay, so Tom is in the lead with 0. Jerry,
Okay, that's my favorite lead.
Okay.
My favorite kind of lead.
Here we go. Number 3, Grown Ups. Number 2, Reservoir Dogs. Number 1, Boardwalk Empire.
Jason Levine.
Tom.
I'm going to give it to Tom because of the delay.
All right. I'll let it go.
Tom?
Steve Buscemi.
Correct, sir.
Can I get extra points if I have Steve Buscemi facts? Because he was a...
Okay, quit. Here's an extra point. Tom, would you like to guess his 4th listed movie?
Of his movies.
So his number 1 was Boardwalk Empire. That's what he's most known for, according to
It's
IMDb.
not a movie, but it's a show. But the
Well, okay. What are we using for movies? Is it gross?
It's just like the popularity, apparently what they're most searched for.
Fine. I'll say Billy Madison.
I know this one.
Incorrect.
I know this one.
But it doesn't cost you. Jerry?
The Big Lebowski.
Incorrect as well.
Oh, come on.
Fargo.
Oh, that's right. He was in Fargo.
Who's putting grown-ups over Fargo? This is where I'm confused. I'm confused in the
same
numbering
people who
system
put
here.
Armageddon above Deep Impact.
It's just like what they, I don't know how the stats are. Now, there are some people that use IMDb Pro, and it says in those cases, then these celebrities can adjust it themselves. All right. So we're still at 0 to -1. Good score.
Wait, why did I not get a point for guessing it?
Oh, you did. Correct. Okay, 1 to -1. Jerry, you're down by 2. Okay. Here we go. Number 3, Die Another Day. Number 2, Gothica.
Jason Levine.
Mr. Baker.
Halle Berry.
That is correct.
I knew I can name the number 1 too.
Go ahead.
It's Swordfish.
Incorrect.
What?
What would you say Halle Berry's number 1 for the still, Tom?
Oh, I forgot.
Her number 1, X-Men.
Gods and Monsters.
Catwoman.
Catwoman.
No. Okay. See, now we know your number
No,
system.
you're
You're reading from the bottom, aren't you?
No, this is
But
their
it's what
listing.
they're known for.
It's what they're
so
known for.
Catwoman was like the biggest.
There's no
bomb.
way she's known for Catwoman over anything else. That is balderdash. How about the movie? Never mind.
Yes, that's
Okay. So it's
Jerry, let's join forces and overthrow.
This is-
okay.
This is
It's
nonsense.
1 to 0. Tom's still in the lead,
Okay.
and we have 2 left. Number 3, August Osage County. Number 2,
I don't even know what that is.
Train Spotting. Number 1, Moulin Rouge.
Jason Levine.
Mr. Baker.
Ewan McGregor.
That is correct, sir.
Train Spotting gave it away, but I had to wait. The Moulin Rouge.
It is now 1 to 1. This is going to be the tiebreaker. For a bonus point, would you like to guess the number 4 movie in his list?
His number 4 was it not a Star Wars film such as?
No, it is not.
Okay, then never mind.
In fact, I didn't even know Train Spotting 2 was a thing.
Yeah, it came out not long ago.
Okay.
Okay, seriously, what is going on with these
I
numbers?
know, this is insane. It's Obi-Wan Kenobi, and he's not even in the top 4.
Okay, so
He's not even
now
listed.
here's
on
the thing. So I kind of had to go with you kind of have to use super non-famous, not non-famous, but character actors.
Right.
Because if you use Chris Evans, it's going to be like, oh, Captain America First Avenger.
Right.
There's something super obvious.
No, well, yeah, well, I don't know what that means because you just said Ewan McGregor and then you didn't say any of the Star Wars movies. So
Yeah.
you're not
This
making
game
any
is weird.
sense.
It's not me.
Your explanation
It's
didn't make
not
sense.
me.
I like
It's IMDb.
All right.
Take it up with
All right, so
IMDb.
If I lose, I'm going to register a complaint.
Okay, final one. This is for winner take all. Remember, if you guess incorrectly, you go negative.
All right.
Number 3, American Splendor. And I will give Tom a little bump because of the delay.
Okay.
Number 2, Cinderella Man. Number 1, Sideways.
Hang on. I haven't seen Sideways, and I only know one person in Cinderella Man. What was the third movie?
American Splendor.
I can't think of the guy's name.
Number
I'm blanking.
4.
I'm going to be mad. Here, give me a second.
His 4th most known movie at this point is The Holdovers.
I know this. I can't think of his name. If I describe him, I have to say the name. Oh, you're killing me. Hang on a second. Give me just. I know it. I know the guy.
Oh, I know who it is too, but I don't know his name.
No, here it is. Hang on. It's coming to me.
Nope. Time's up. Call him.
Time's up. 3, 2, 1.
So technically, it's a tie because it is the little guy from.
Paul Giamatti.
Paul Giamatti
is the answer that you're looking for.
I will forever be embarrassed by that because I love Paul Giamatti.
All right. Well, this is anticlimactic.
What was he in American Splendor?
I've never seen that movie, so I do not know.
That one threw me off. That almost cost me because I almost said Kevin Spacey. But the sideways thing gave it away.
So do y'all want to go out with a tie? Or do you want me to look up?
Well, this game is rigged.
Oh, I'm thinking of it. I'm thinking of a different movie. I just looked it up because the game's over. American Splendor is not the movie I was thinking of.
So this would be a tie, I believe, Marie. This is a tie.
It ended in a tie, unfortunately. It's not the way I anticipated ending, but that's just...
Well, maybe you should use better scoring. Catwoman. There's not going to be a single fan who agrees with you on that one.
Yeah, that's a weird one.
Oh, I calls them as I see them. Well, I'm glad we...
You know that she got the Razzie and the Oscar in the same year.
I thought Sandy B did the same. Sandra Bullock.
Well, she might have. I didn't say she was the only.
Oh, but she did. You are correct.
But she's also like, to me, she killed James Bond for Pierce Brosnan. That was like my least favorite.
That was on the way out. James Bond was on the way out with those films. By the time Christmas,
what, you didn't like the Ice Palace?
I did not like the Ice Palace. I did not like the I'm going to change races. I did not like there's a lot. There was just so much going wrong. The windsurfing thing.
Was that the one Madonna was in as well?
Yes. Yes. And the invisible car. There was just
that was real bad.
It was bad. But they were trying to get another Bond for him afterwards. And they were in production or trying to be, and he wanted too much money.
James Bond, Mr. Vasel, or Mission Impossible? Which do you prefer?
Oh, Mission Impossible. Easy. Because I like the team aspect. I like a team. And James Bond is not a team. It's just James Bond working with Q.
I would argue that the Mission Impossible team is 90% Ethan Hunt and a little bit of nerds on the side. And that's the same thing with James Bond. It's like he's got some people to give him the tools and then the babes that help him out. But
I agree, but he works with them. And you know what? Ethan Hunt loves his wife.
He does.
And he wins straight up for that.
His moral character.
The ending of Mission Impossible 4 is one of my favorite endings. Is it 4? I think it's one of my favorite endings ever.
With Henry Cavill? Is that the one? No, that's
4
not
is where he hung off the
one
Burj
with
Khalifa.
That's right. That's the one with Philip Seymour Hoffman.
No, that's number 3.
No, it's one where he's at the very end. He like goes and sees his wife.
That's right.
Very briefly.
Yeah, brief. So yeah, he is more of a family man. You appreciate it.
James Bond would be immediately canceled if he were a real person these days.
He would be
immediately.
Yes, he would be
dead from an STD instantly. That would
and
be
liver disease.
And liver disease. Whereas Ethan doesn't drink.
No,
he exercises. He runs.
He runs like nobody's business. Best runner in movies, Tom Cruise. Correct, Mr. Vasel?
Tom Hanks might give him a thing for it because I have such a soft spot for Forrest Gump. But yes,
yeah, that was the original runner.
Do you think Forrest Gump is an actual good movie, or is it nostalgia driven?
Yes, I like it a lot.
Yeah, I think Forrest Gump.
A lot. I like it a lot.
Yeah, it's a good.
Oh wait, no, that's Dumb and Dumber. I thought that was Forrest Gump.
No,
okay.
Also, shrimp. Did I mention the shrimp thing?
That's right,
Bubba.
Right. So, are there any Bubba shrimps there in Homestead?
No, the closest one I think is there might be one in Fort Lauderdale. There's definitely one in Orlando. There's one in Miami. There's one in Miami. I've gone to it. What am I talking about?
Do you prefer, I'm assuming though, like a more, what do they call that, mom and pop type restaurant?
Oh, for sure. Like here in Homestead, we are just north of the Keys. Like the Homestead is the last city before you go down to the Keys. And Key Largo's seafood is unbelievable. Throw a stone, go to any place there. It is crazy good.
I need to do that.
Well, I'll do that when I come. How far is Orlando?
4 hours. You're not doing
I'm
it.
not going to make it. I'm not going to make it. I just have time. You may bring me some shrimp.
So Homestead is closer to Miami than Orlando, or am I getting that way wrong?
Yeah, Homestead is south of Miami. It's essentially like a suburb of Miami. Not really, but that's what it feels like. Yeah. Like there's no space in between. And then Orlando's Orlando's in the middle of Florida.
I was so close to visiting DTHQ. My brother recently had moved to Miami a couple years ago, and we flew down there, and I was in talks with Mr. Delizio, and he's like, yeah, come on down. Tom said you could tour and visit, but my family would not let me borrow their vehicle. And so stuck on Miami Beach I was.
That's where you Uber.
It wasn't a bad place to get stuck, must say. Although I was offered tremendous amounts of weed and alcohol just sitting on the beach.
Your brother-in-law. Oh, not from your brother-in-law?
No.
Okay, let's say.
I've lived here for 14 years now. We've been to Miami Beach exactly once, and what you said is correct.
It's crazy. I'm like, where are the police? What's going on? But I was no snitch. I was not a snitch.
Or you would have got stitches.
You just told the world your thousands, tens upon thousands of listeners now.
Yes. But it was fun. It was a beautiful place. The ocean was beautiful. Now there was one part of Miami where there's a free beach. Not quite as pretty because they let just whatever that algae and moss is that they obviously clear off the Miami beach because I guess it's a paid beach. But that free beach is just full of it. And it's gross.
Free beach?
Yeah, you don't have to pay for like parking and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Or a spot. Now, I don't recommend getting in the ocean these days.
Do you surf or do anything of that nature, Tom?
I do not. I look at the ocean and take pictures of it. That is the extent.
I used to scuba dive, but I was always afraid of going off into the ocean.
What about those big catfish that are down there?
I don't mind those. We just caught the guy just here in Oklahoma caught the record that like 100-pound something another catfish here just the other day. Yeah, I don't mind the mud cats, but I'm not going out there where there's a shark, the Meg or whatever.
Sharks are one of the easiest things in the world to avoid.
Don't get in the water.
Yeah, well, yes.
Yeah, it's a really simple. I mean, unless you're watching Sharknado, but yes, it's a very easy thing. People are afraid of sharks. I'm like, you're done. You're good.
Vending machines kill more people than sharks every year. Literally. Falling vending machines. Well, Tom, we appreciate you coming on. We won't keep you any longer, especially since I'll be seeing you. I already got my ticket lined out. I'll get my hotel lined out. I'll come to the retreat. That's the most exclusive board gaming convention in the world, correct? Because that's what I'm telling people.
That's not true.
No, I've said that line too many times now. It's the truth. There's only like how many tickets? There's not very few tickets.
You had to purchase it via Bitcoin, I heard.
It's the best of the best. Like the celebs, all the celebs are coming. It's the retreat. It's where the celebs go.
It's the best. I'll tell you this. It is the best ratio of person to games you'll ever find. There's 2,300 games and 300 people. So each person can grab 7 games and play them by themselves.
Just 300 people? See, it's like the Betty Ford resort for board gamers. It's just, the clinic. So yeah, I'm super, super excited about that.
I'm excited for you.
Yeah, because you're not going to fly, are you? You don't like to fly. You could not get on the plane.
I have not yet accumulated enough PTO.
But you wouldn't get on the plane last time.
Well, I also don't like
How did you get to Miami? Did you drive?
No, I flew, but
He caused such a scene, I don't think you could fly American anymore.
It requires drugs for me to get on an airplane and relax and not freak out.
And then he gets to Florida and starts refusing drugs. I don't understand.
That is confusing. You are giving a mixed message to a young audience.
Prescriptions are, legal. We'll go that route.
Okay. Prescribe.
Yes, kids, use your mom's prescription drugs. That's what I just heard.
Do you know where the medicine cabinet is? Open that mirror.
Grandpa's liquor cabinet.
Anyway.
Which I avoid.
Either way, I'll be looking forward to that. Is Jason Levine going to be there? AKA the GOAT? All right. I look forward to meeting him again. It's been a long time.
Well, Mr. Vasel, I don't know if I have said this, and I don't think I have thus far. I'm very excited to have recorded with you. I when I first got into board games, of course, Dice Tower was, I actually don't know how I stumbled upon it. I don't know if I was looking for rules for something, but I did stumble upon it. This was probably about 2000, it doesn't matter, 2015, 14, 13, somewhere around there. And I stumbled upon y'all's top 10s, you, Sam, and Z back in the day. And I was hooked, and I enjoyed all of your top 10s, specifically your top 10s. I used to check your reviews as well. And I said used to. I still check your reviews, I mean.
I was going to say, but now look for quality.
But, tastes in games sometimes diverge from when you first learn to play. So But I still enjoy the Dice Tower. I do enjoy Mr. Delizio. I think he was a fine addition to the crew.
Roy's okay.
I'm not familiar with Roy. I didn't get to go eat lunch with him.
I did. He's an exciting.
You know, we were there the next 3 days, right?
You avoided him.
Yeah, I'm very shy when I'm not in front of a microphone. I'm very shy. In fact, you came up to the table I was playing games at, and I just kind of barely could acknowledge you because I was so tremendously awestruck by the celebrity that was there. We were playing.
Well, as my game group would tell you, you get over that. What were you playing?
We were playing Shadows over Camelot.
Oh, I wondered why that game. I went there and I was like, cool game. And I got the vibe that they wanted me to leave. So I was like, all right, I can take a hint.
No, that was not the case.
I remember that specific. I was like, oh, and then I came back later and asked, and people were like, oh yeah, there's no way the trader can win or something like that.
Yeah.
Because I said, looks like you're about to lose.
Yeah, it was. Well, quite frankly, I did not enjoy that game. I found it. I don't know. It didn't do it for me. We did the same thing repeatedly for upwards of 2 hours, and I was like, I can see why this was a game back in the day.
Who was your character?
I don't know.
Which knight?
They're all the same.
Circumference.
Good one.
That was
like
wow.
Well,
Wow, I'm so glad to show up for this.
What? It's great.
But anyway, so what I really wanted to say was thank you for all your work. I admire your work, and you're doing a great job, and keep it up.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you guys for your podcast.
Yes.
Someone's got to be the yin to the yang of the other guys.
Yeah, and it's certainly, you know, we're glad that we could have the sporadically bored people, you know, ride our coattails and steal our ideas, but it's the same, you know. We're all there's a big enough audience for all of us.
Podcasts, mixtape games, that's what they do.
It's what they do. It's what they copying other people's works and ideas. That's the Mike and Dan way. That's the Mike. Is Dan going to be at the Dice Tower retreat? Well, it's exclusive, so he probably not going to make it.
He was at one of them.
I think he was there.
Yeah, I even played a game with him. I wasn't sure he played games, but it is true he does.
I don't know how he would get over there.
I bet he complained a lot.
He seems like a complainer. But no, I remember. I remember.
I've never once heard Mike. I never once heard Dan complain about anything. So I don't know what y'all are talking about.
Listen to the podcast. Yeah, I remember finding the Dice Tower top 10 video back in the day because I got back into board gaming right about the time where I was having just a bunch of crazy stuff go on in life. And I do remember very specifically coming across that very popular top 10 video where it's, you know, the one that went viral for y'all back in the day, where it's you and Sam and Z, and you explain this is a top 10 video, but it's my top 10 and this top 10 and this. So there's 30 games, and so don't gripe about it type thing. And starting the video off, I remember that being the first video that introduced me to the Dice Tower, and then doing the same thing that I think all people getting into board gaming does, which is just essentially that YouTube Dice Tower channel becoming the thing that you listen to every day, from Board Game Breakfast to all the various other shows that came out and everybody there. And it was an interesting way of getting into the hobby, and it made it much more accessible and dangerous on your wallet too, because you're buying everything, of course. But it was a, I don't think there's any other hobby that I can think of that has what's the opposite of a gatekeeper? It's like a conveyor belt into the hobby, like board gaming. It's a thing.
I'll use that as our new tagline, the Dice Tower.
Yeah, it just ushers you into it. Like you watch a video and then you're on it, and now you're in this hobby, and you're in so deep you cannot get out. And
Dice Tower is like Kleenex is to tissue, the Dice Tower is to board game media.
All right. Well,
you're looking at.
I don't agree on that, but I appreciate it.
Like Charmin, you know. Yeah, that's a great.
No, that's not. They're not synonymous.
Okay,
Charmin is not synonymous.
I didn't know why that was such an odd comparison. But okay,
I think Tom knew what I was saying.
I bet. Yeah, he understood. You're blowing your nose. That's why. That's why. But no, Tom, we appreciated you coming on. This has been a long time coming. You know, eventually having some people of respectable Dice Tower celebrities on our show, and maybe we'll get around to having Mike and Dan. And I'd like to have Roy on one of these days. Roy seemed like an interesting guy. He seemed like an interesting guy. I need to talk with him. Another designer.
All right. Well, you kind of keep wrapping up, but then you kind of keep extending it. So are we wrapping it up?
Hey, folks, thanks for listening today.
Oh, okay. There you go. Yeah. Thank you, Tom.
All right. Well, that's going to...
Hey, I'm getting a call from my wife.
There you go. There we go. And now it's time to end the show.
There you go.
Tom, seriously, thank you for coming on. We appreciate it. Enjoyed it very much. Until our next episode, I'm Gabi.
This Jerry.
And Mr. Vasel, would you like to say goodbye?
That's me. I'm Tom Vasel.
Thank you for tolerating this episode of the Board Game Snobs. Stay classy.